So the next question says, when does the government regulate producers in a mixed market economy? Again, so when we talk about mixed market, what are we talking about a mix? It's a mix between a command economy and a market economy. And so government is going to participate in certain areas of the economy. Normally, the market is going to control the majority of the economy, interaction of supply and demand. And we see that the government is going to regulate producers as needed. And as needed refers to areas where there might be market failures. And so market failures refer to places where a full market economy would not be able to functionally operate the most efficiently. We can think of externalities as a market failure, public goods, monopolistic competition, monopoly markets, tragedy of the commons. All these are examples of places where if you were to leave the market up to the interaction of supply and demand, you would not have the optimal solution at the end of the day. And that's where government steps in mixed markets in order to regulate. So let's take the example of externalities. Producers might overproduce because they are not accounting for the negative externality of pollution, and government is going to come in and regulate those producers in order to make sure that the producers internalize the cost of pollution either through cap and trade or through taxes or penalties. And that is an example of that government regulation of producers on an as needed basis. If producers in a market didn't have externalities and there were no market failures and it's a perfectly okay market for the private economy to take over, then the government would have no need to intervene. And we know that any government intervention in one of those markets with no market failures is going to actually cause it to be inefficient. So we would say on an as needed basis, the government will regulate producers in a mixed market economy. Okay, so let's take a look at the previous answer. So the previous answer says as needed, which is correct. It says a mixed market economic system is a mix between a command economy and a market economy. This means an economic system under which the government participates in making economic decisions and allows individual consumers and firms to participate in making economic decisions as well. In the mixed market economy, private sectors are free to choose the type of businesses they want to pursue, but the government would make an intervention. The government is convinced that some private industries are working against the interest of the society, i.e. social interests. Thus, there will only be government intervention where it is needed to strike an ideal balance between self-interest and social interest, social justice. So this, I think, is more talking about the difference between efficiency and equity. If we can think about social justice in the idea that resources should be divided equitably rather than efficiently, I think that would be more apt. And I think that is one way in which government will intervene. You can think about social safety nets like Social Security or Medicare, Medicaid. Those are all going to be more about equity than efficiency. But I will say I think this solution does miss what we talked about earlier, which is that interaction of the government in market failures. So we can say that government should also government would also intervene in situations in where there are market failures. These might include externalities, monopolies, public goods, etc. A market economy would inefficiently allocate resources when dealing with market failures, which would require intervention by or regulation. by the government. And that's going to be more of our filled-in answer. So government would also intervene in situations where there are market failures. These might include externalities, monopolies, public goods, etc. A market economy would inefficiently allocate resources when dealing with market failures, thus requiring intervention or regulation by the government. And that's going to be a correct solution.